You're listening to the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe, a podcast of curated conversations with C-suite leaders and those who support organizational growth and development. Get ready for inspiring interviews, educational lessons, and thought-provoking discussions that will challenge you to execute something new and innovative that will drive results in your organization. And now, here's Dr. Tanya Lowe.
Hello, you're listening to episode 18 of the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe. Using my results-driven philosophy of strategy, leadership, teams, and customer experiences, I help organizations develop their best kept secret, their human capital. So today, we're going to talk about how leaders can help your employees avoid pandemic fatigue and burnout. There's so much data out about the summer of quitting, people being burnt out, fed up, tired, they're leaving their jobs, they are dealing with mental health issues, anxiety, so many things, and it's affecting the workplace. And we're going to see more of that. So in last week's episode, I talked about the summer of quitting and the more than 3.9 million people who quit their jobs in April of 2021. And it's not that people don't want to work. You know, like I said, people are stressed out, they're burned out, and they're fed up. They want more from their organizations. And after 547.86 days, that's 18 months since the pandemic started, it is only natural that they feel burnt out, exhausted, or just plain over this new normal, which I really don't like that word, the new normal, but that's where we are. Even with the world opening up a little bit in some places and remaining closed in others, if you're feeling any of these, you may be suffering from pandemic fatigue. Pandemic fatigue is a real thing. Feeling exhaustion of COVID-19's effect on our lives, from quarantining to job loss, to the fears of getting sick, to wear a mask, don't wear a mask, get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated, the vax versus the non-vax. It's draining. It is emotionally and sometimes physically draining. All these factors play in the fatigue that many of us are feeling and how we're reacting mentally and emotionally as a result of it. Burnout is a real and quite damaging condition, even before the pandemic. Once you find yourself suffering from burnout, it can be difficult to turn things around. And that's why it's necessary to take steps to avoid or try to avoid burnout on the front end. And so I've got 3 tips that you can share with your employees or your workplace wellness programs, or just share this episode to help your employees start getting on the right track so that they can avoid burnout as we all try to figure out how to maneuver in this quote unquote new normal. So the first thing is set boundaries. No matter what your profession may be, it's important to have boundaries. You can't be available around the clock. That is simply impossible. And what we've learned from the data and a lot of the research is that many employees, because they're working from home, they're juggling so many things, they don't really understand or they don't really realize when to turn it off. And so to prevent burnout, it's critical to establish boundaries of the times that you're available and the times that you're not available. And this means you won't be in the quote unquote office or available by phone or by email during these times. So if you have a colleague who is sending emails at 11 o'clock at midnight, we have become so conditioned to responding immediately, which throws everything off. So you want to set some boundaries of when you're available and when you're going to respond. If you're in a management position, it might also help to post these hours somewhere or have an auto reply so people know you will answer when you are available to answer the next time you're in the office or the next time you're at your workstation. You are in control of the gate to your boundaries. Closed is closed. Just like when you're trying to rush in and you're 2 seconds late from picking up your dry cleaning and they've got that clothes sign up. That's what it's like when you set firm boundaries. People can only come in on the other side if you let them in. So practice holding true to your boundaries. Number two is create a work-life balance. Besides just setting boundaries, you need to have some time to do some things that aren't work related. We've all been in timeout and the world is opening up, like I said. And although we still need to be careful, some people are still not very comfortable with that. And they're still struggling with work-life balance. Again, an issue that many American workers struggled with before the pandemic. So here we go. Creating a work-life balance means you have to have time for your hobbies, your family, your friends, and just doing what you love. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And it could be as simple as taking a walk in the afternoon, having a game night with your family, inviting some friends over for a socially distanced dinner, having a Zoom party. And I know we're all just so overwhelmed with Zoom, but planning something, okay, maybe not a Zoom party, scratch that from the list, but plan something where you can have some social interaction, especially if you live alone, and you can get back to doing some of the things that you enjoy. For me, my favorite is playing golf. Playing golf really helped me during the pandemic because it's something that you can do outside, go to the driving range. That's always my go-to. And just going for a walk, talking to my neighbors outside. So come up with a plan for creating some work-life balance, because now that home is everything, it's been a lot more difficult to do that. But we're going to commit to it. Whatever you decide to do, it needs to be something you want to do, something you enjoy doing, and you need to put your foot down if work ever tries to interfere with that time. It is your unapologetic, non-negotiable time creating that work-life balance. And I promise you, it will make a difference. And then number three, put yourself first. Put yourself first. Whatever is going on at work, it's going to be there. If you start to feel ill and you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to put yourself first. You need to take care of that. You need to, what I call it, is recalibrate to get yourself back on track. And that means even if your group just started a new project, if you need to take a mental health day, take one, because you're not going to perform at your best. You're just not. And then that's going to affect the whole project and the team. So if you're setting boundaries and you're creating some work-life balance, then a part of that is putting yourself first and not letting or allowing your health to deteriorate. So putting yourself first is especially important when we oftentimes look at it when we start having symptoms, but we've got to do it before we start having symptoms and before we start feeling ill. And although it may be tempting to say, it's just a cold, I can go to work anyway. Hopefully it won't get worse. It could be COVID. It could, well, I'm not like you can't get a cold. Colds are still around, but everything is COVID, right? Like I bumped my knee. I think I have COVID. So put yourself first, stay home, rest, turn everything off, recalibrate so you can be the best for your team, for your family, for yourself. Overall, in these times, it may seem difficult to avoid the condition of burnout, but it can be done. It can be done. If you remember to set some boundaries, create a work-life balance, and put yourself first, you can create this habit of not only just surviving the pandemic, but you can create tools. I like to call them putting these tools in your toolbox to share with your employees, your teams, your families, and that you can use for a lifetime. We want to do everything that we can to avoid the damages of pandemic fatigue and burnout. And it starts by following these 3 tips. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Dr. Tanya Lowe, CEO of the Resurgent Group of Metro Atlanta, and I help organizations develop their best kept secret, their human capital. And I would love to help you and your teams understand how to deal with the burnout. Visit the show notes page where you can grab a copy of Results Driven Organizations, the 4 Keys to a High Performance Workplace, and be sure to grab our special gift for being a valued listener. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe. Be sure to review the show notes for the resources mentioned, and don't forget to grab your free gift available at freegiftfromtanya.com. Until next time.